How long has y'all been married before she died?
Only 19 days.
I'm sorry you have to be here, Chris. I'm sorry all these people that are in the courtroom have to be here. You and I spoke about this case, the legal side of it, and what can possibly happen. What are you asking Judge West to do today?
I think the only thing that can be done is the maximum sentence. I think that's the only way that any kind of healing can be done. From just on my end and from the 1,000 lives that were affected by this senseless tragedy.
Thank you, Chris. I'll pass with the sheriff.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you. You may call your next witness.
State called Boston Carr.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Carr, would you identify yourself for the jury and tell us what you do for a living? I mean, for the judge, and tell us what you do for a living, please.
My name is Boston Carr, and I live in Beaumont, Texas, and I work for Bierce Industrial, an industrial sales company.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 22 years old.
How did you find out that Camille had been killed?
I was asleep, and my dad busted into my room, and it was about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I remember waking up, and he just said, "The girls got in an accident." My first thought was that they had to be okay. There was no way something like that could happen. And I immediately asked, "Are they okay? What hospital are they at? You know, what ER are they in?" And all my dad could say was, "They didn't make it." All I could say was no. Just no, no. And I jumped out of bed and I still just couldn't believe it. There's no way. And I got dressed as fast as I could and I ran downstairs and I didn't know what I could do. I thought there was something maybe I could do. And my dad just told me, he said, "Bubba, there's nothing you can do. There's nowhere you can go. Can't do anything."
And since this has happened, how's it affected you, Boston?
I had begun building my life with Camille and my life plans and our life that we were building together and we had just begun to build together was just taking off. And the one thing that I thought I had done right in my life was deciding to marry Camille. And with that gone, I feel so lost in like this life that I was supposed to have has been taken away from me.
I'm asking the same question that I asked Chris. What do you want to see happen here today?
Full sentencing underneath the law, that's possible.
And that's actually not enough, is it? Nothing can fix it.
I don't believe it is.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Carr. I'll pass it to the sheriff.
No question.
Thank you.
I have no other witnesses to call in punishment, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Young, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, sir. We call Salvador Gomez.
All right, Mr. Gomez, if you'll just get them close over here, please.
Now, when we were preparing for the trial, you've never been convicted of a felony anywhere, correct?
That is correct.
So you technically qualify for probation. Are you asking this court for probation?
No, sir, I'm not. I don't think it's appropriate. I'm taking full responsibility for my actions, and that's why I don't think it's appropriate for me to even think about it.
So when the probation officer included all that in the report about, that's nothing you asked for, that's just something they included.
That is correct, yes.
So I think the last thing is there anything you want to say to the families of Ms. Eisenhower this morning?
Yes, I will. To the Eisenhower family, to the Marty family, Mr. Stacks, Mr. Carr, there's nothing that I can say, nothing that I can do to bring your loved ones back. Now, the remorse and the shamefulness that I feel about this is unthinkable. Nothing that has happened to me compares to the destruction that I've caused in your lives. I've destroyed your lives. And nothing that my injuries, that doesn't even compare. I can't even fathom what you all are going through. I really don't. And I've thought about this for over a year. And I just can't come up with a proper thing to say, but what I've said. I don't wish this upon even my worst enemies, because I know you all are hurting beyond imagination. And like I said, I wish I could do something, but I can't.
Have you asked for forgiveness from your personal Savior?
Yes, I have. I ask for forgiveness for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I'll have my judgment day with Him one day. Trust me, I've said it to myself a bunch of times, and I've said it to Him too. Why didn't you kill me instead of them? I would have preferred that, but He did what He did, and I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Pastor Rich.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Nichols?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Gomez, how many DWI convictions did you have before this night?
3.
2 here in Texas and 1 in Virginia, is that correct?
That is correct.
And on those occasions, you were put on probation.
Yes, sir.
And as part of probation for DWI, I'm sure they taught you the risk when you were wanting to get out and go speak to kids and teach them about drinking and driving. You wanted to show them that you don't think it can happen to you, but it happened to me. That was your words, correct?
Yes, sir.
It happened to you.
Yes.
Not you did this to them, but it happened to you. That's how you see this?
Oh, no, sir.
How old are your children?
27, 21, 20, and 18.
And if, God forbid, they were taken from you because of someone drunk, intoxicated driving, what would you be asking the judge to do?
I will let the justice system look at all the facts and the judge, and for her to decide, or them to decide what is the right thing to do, the right decision.
When you were taking shots at the strip club and stumbling over your chair, what was going through your mind at that point?
Not a whole lot.
And then after that, you decided to get in your truck and drive 20, 30 miles back to where you live off of Westport up the road. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And your evening started at the taqueria in Port Arthur,
Yes, sir.
where you drank 8, 9 beers between 5:30 and 9:30. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, I think so.
And you left the city of Port Arthur after having had 8 or 9 beers and drove the 30 minutes or so to a strip club in Beaumont. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And for several more hours, you continued to drink. You took shots and you drank beers.
Yes, sir.
And then after about 12:30, 12:45 in the morning, you got in your truck to drive back to Westport Arthur Road.
Yes, sir.
And you're asking this court to give you some mercy for your choices.
Sir, I'm asking the court to review the facts. And the judicial system, they can make the right decision on what they want to do, sir.
I'm sure they can. Pass, please.
Anything else, Mr. Young?
One question. Mr. Nichols referred to your prior offenses for the misdemeanor of driving while intoxicated. When was the last one?
In 2005.
Pastor.
Anything
No other
else?
questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
I understand there's times for mercy, there's times for compassion, Your Honor. But I think undeserved mercy to the guilty is further cruelty to the victims. And they've been through everyone's worst nightmare. 20 plus 20 is 40, and that's really not enough, but that is the maximum allowed under law, and that's what I'm asking you to do on behalf of the Marty family, the Eisenhower family, Christopher Stacks, Boston Carr, and their entire faith community. The one reason all these people, including the Gomez family, are here in this courtroom today is because of what he did, what he chose to do. And it is a tragedy up and down. And so I'm asking you to protect the citizens of Jefferson County from any chance that this could ever happen again from Mr. Gomez. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. I have a question, Mr. Nichols, with regard to deadly weapon finding. I'm looking at the indictment, and it doesn't read that there's a deadly weapon.
Right, I don't believe it does, Your Honor.
Okay. And it's not something I looked into. Is that something I can still find if the indictment doesn't say it?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. Do y'all know? If it's not, if it's not in the indictment?
The court would have to find, it is permissible without a request, without it being included in the indictment. However, the court would have to point to specific evidence that it was used or intended to be used as a deadly weapon.
Okay.
And I would argue to the court that perhaps, I mean, if there had been other evidence, but there's really no evidence admitted upon which the court could make such a finding, so I would ask the court not to find that. But I will represent to the court as an officer of the court that it's not absolutely required that it be included.
Okay. I really didn't think so. I just wanted to make sure. I would think I guess, Mr. Young, would you disagree with the information that is provided in the pre-sentence report that everyone has agreed that I review, that I could use that as far as, since I've taken judicial notice of that, the letters and everything else, that would be, would you have an objection of me using that if I were in fact to make a finding of a deadly weapon?
Your Honor, I think the court can consider all evidence before the court, and if there is evidence that the court can point to that says this supports the finding of deadly weapon, obviously we can't contest that.
Okay. First, I really do want to thank everybody for being here. We don't have full courtrooms like this. These, just as both of the attorneys said, these are some of the most difficult cases that any judge has to deal with for many reasons, obviously. Mr. Gomez, had you been in, well, I'm not sure that it would matter, but had you been in here and this was your first DWI, there might be some sense of what your attorney was asking for from me, which is true. I mean, I have to detach myself from the emotional part, which is, it's impossible, but it's required, and I do the best I can to do that. And there are things about you and your life in the past that are good. There are things that the 3 prior DWIs should have taught you. Your age, you're 52 now? 53 now. You know, it's the 3 DWIs previously, even though they're older, and your age, it's not the establishment's fault. Did they violate the law? Absolutely. You're a grown man. Grown man. Got into a vehicle, and you know from your history, you know from your age, you know probably from telling your own children not to drink and drive, and trying to probably instill that in them, and you did it, and you did this. So at this time, in cause number 24, DCCR 1651, I'm going to find you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily, find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of intoxication manslaughter with a vehicle. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 20 years in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Corrections. There will be an affirmative finding of a deadly weapon. I am basing that on all of the information that's presented in both the pre-sentence report, the attached reports from the officers, in addition to the letters from Mr. Stacks, who unfortunately had to drive up and see this in person, from what they had to use to identify these 2 precious young lives. that there's no way that there is any doubt that you used your vehicle in a manner capable of causing death, and that you in fact did that. In cause number 24, DCCR 1652, I'm also going to find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of intoxication manslaughter with a vehicle. Sentence you to a term of 20 years. There will also be a deadly finding in that case based on the same information and evidence that I used in the previous one. That sentence will run consecutively to cause number 24, DCCR 1651. In cause number 24, DCCR 1653, I'm also going to find that you entered your plea of guilty freely and voluntarily, find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of driving while intoxicated, third or more. Find those prior offenses true. Sentence you to a term of 10 years in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Corrections. That will run concurrently with the other two sentences. You will receive credit on these sentences for any time that you've been in custody, that the law gives you the right to receive.